Right. Hey guys, so I have Dan here with me today. Dan, do you have a last name? Should we share
Gunther.
your last name?
Yeah, that's fine.
All
Gunther.
right.
Okay.
Right, I have you on Facebook. I forgot. I always just call you Dan.
I,
Anyways,
I, I get the requests every day. So yeah.
right. So we just kind of want to, shoot the shit a little bit about benzo withdrawal. And Dan and I feel like we have pretty similar experiences in the fact that we um, both got off benzos after a pretty short period of time.
Yep.
And we're still dealing with the withdrawal of other medications. So I know Dan is doing Remeron and I'm on Cymbalta. And then another coincidence is that we both sort of quit our benzo withdrawal right around the same time. So I'm going on 5 years. I know you're a little bit over 5 years now.
Yeah, it's like 5 years, 3 months.
Yeah. And so we've been through a pretty rough 5 years. Right? Like
half of it is just tapering other stuff, So
yeah.
we always like to make sure people know that we are tapering other things, so people don't.
Well,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So we don't want to scare people because, like, look, I really believe, and I'm sure Dan believes this, that if we weren't taking these other meds, we probably would have recovered by now, or even a long time ago.
Yeah, years.
Yeah, exactly. I think I would have recovered like 3 years ago personally.
And even if it wasn't a full recovery, it would have been enough for me to be living a way better life. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're kind of counting down the days. Those days are a little bit a ways away, but we're counting down the days till we have freedom from this medication. But I first discovered Dan's channel pretty much right when I got off the benzos, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. So I just, I'm sure I just typed in benzo withdrawal on YouTube, and Dan's channel popped up, and I was like, I just felt like I could relate, because we had a lot of the same symptoms.
Correct.
We were on benzos around the same amount of time. We hopped off pretty quickly, I believe, and then we were taking these other medications and everything. So Dan was probably the first guy who I felt like I could relate to, and I'm not I don't want to get too cheesy. That this isn't, I'm not going to get all mushy and everything, but I remember just kind of some of your videos and some other people. There was like a Jocelyn of Benzo Brains. I don't know if you know about her channel, but there's some other people I've been watching for about 5 years, and I would sometimes I'd even like rewatch your videos because I'd hear those symptoms. I'd be like, okay, this is normal. I'm not going crazy, and there are other people who are dealing with this shit. In the beginning, it was so fucking scary because you think something's really wrong with you, and something is. Now, don't get me wrong, but you think something is like, you have something really wrong with your brain, or you're going crazy, or you have cancer, or you have something else, and your mind is running at like a million miles an hour. So when I would watch your videos and other people's, they would like totally make me feel better.
That's great.
I don't
That's
know.
exactly why I did them. I mean, I was getting the same thing out of other people's videos, and I mean, I don't recall who at the moment, but I was getting the same thing, going, "Oh, thank goodness," because I thought I was going completely insane. Now, don't get me wrong; I still got checked out at the doctors for various issues, but I mean, once everything cleared out, all I could say was benzo withdrawal and a screwed up nervous system or whatever it was.
Yeah, but it really does help to hear other people's experience with it, and like their symptoms, and sometimes you just want to listen to other people bitch about it as well, right?
I still do. I'll watch people videos when it's like I don't want to talk about it, just hear other people bitch about it. I'll be like, whoa, they're way worse off than me. I mean, as much as that sucks, I was already there, so it's not like I didn't pay the dues for it, But I'll be like, well, at least I've grown since then. That's good.
You know what? What's funny about that? I was like, look, maybe to some people we sound like terrible people, but it helps, man. When you hear other people who are in a horrific stage of benzo withdrawal, you're like, hey, maybe I don't have it as bad as some people, and it like makes you feel fortunate in a way, right? But we
Yeah.
both, like you said, we both paid our dues. Look, there were times where I didn't sleep, and I'm not even kidding with you guys. I'm not like, this is not like like sort of exaggerating or anything like that. There were points in time where I wouldn't sleep for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm
I was
talking,
close to
I don't think, yeah, I'm talking like I don't even think I got 10 minutes of sleep. I'm not even kidding when I say that. And I literally was having like I felt like I was hallucinating. I was driving through the night, you know, trying to find, and it didn't even help me, but trying to find like CBD clinics at 3 in the morning, try to find anything I could to keep my sanity. And nothing did except for Father Time helped me. But trust me when I say that we've paid our dues with fucking terrible acute withdrawal and terrible protracted withdrawal for that matter, you know. So Dan, so anyway, I'm talking way too much, but
all right.
so Dan, yeah, I'm listening to Dan talk, listen, usually used to listening to Dan talk so much. So maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I like
compensating.
listening to others.
Yeah. But so Dan, maybe you could like just run by your story really quickly and, you know,
Yeah,
talk about what your experience has been like in living in this hell for the last 5 years.
I mean, to make my whole entire story of 5 and 3 months story very short. I mean, literally, I started off with just basic anxiety. At then, you know, in those times it seemed so intense, you know, but now you look back at your, you know, before benzo issues, and it's kind of laughable, you know. It's like I'm striving to get to that point, but I had regular anxiety. I have the visual snow issue. If anybody wants to know about that, just type in visual snow. You can read all about it, but it's a neurological issue, and I was trying to get relief from both of these things. And I'll tell you, they put me on Xanax, which is, to me, now I think about it, it's totally bizarre situation. So
Like, how the heck is that going to treat visual snow?
well, you know, I almost thought, you know, I was reading things that, you know, people said, you know, it would help, you know, your anxiety's making it worse, you know,
Oh,
it's
okay, I see. Okay.
stuff like that. So I'm like, well, maybe it will help it. I was trying to get rid of the anxiety. So I'm like, well, maybe it'll help the other things too, but whatever. So I got on Xanax. It was a lower dose. Like, I don't even remember what they are anymore. It's been so long. It was like 0.5 or something. I think that's what it was, or something like that. It was really low. And well, low in benzo world, I should say. And after I was on the first few days, it was amazing. I thought my life was going to change, blah, 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 you know. And then slowly
Yeah,
the
I know
anxiety
that
started,
feeling.
yeah, the anxiety started popping up again. I'm like, well, that's not fair. You know, so you know, I just kept taking it and stuff like this. I was told by like few people that you had to build it up in your system like an SSRI. It's totally not true. So anyway, so I took it for about 2 weeks, and usually in about the week and a half mark, I started getting pins and needles and stuff like that. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Blah, blah, blah. I was getting symptoms and more symptoms. And then I started hallucinating. And by 2 weeks, it was totally insane. And I got so freaked out. I was telling my girlfriend about it and whatever. And yeah, so I ended up getting thinking getting a psychiatrist would be, all these things that made, I think now it's like, I'm glad I tell these stories, because almost everything I did was way, the worst decisions possible. So I got a psychiatrist because I knew he would safely get me off this medication, quote. And so by the time he basically ripped me off he put me on Klonopin for a week and then ripped me off of that, whatever. So I pretty much tapered for 2 weeks, but I don't count it as it's not really a taper. So, I mean, it's in benzo world, it's more or less a cold turkey. So
that's cold turkey.
Yeah. And he called it a baby dose. And I'll never forget that. It rings through me so much. It makes me sad. literally, I've cried about hearing that in my head so many times, just the way he looked at me. But anyway, so after that, everything went downhill. It was absolutely insane. I was only on benzos for 3 months. And after that, I was going on 11 days of not sleeping. So after that, I'm like, I got to do something. I was, and at that point, I didn't know of things I couldn't take and stuff like that. But I didn't do anything that I shouldn't have. But I tried like Unisom and Benadryl and stuff, but it didn't help. Just made me more screwed up in my head from not sleeping. So, God, I went back to the psychiatrist. I just saying that to myself and go, what? I wish I could go back to the future and just be like, dude, don't go back to the guy. He nearly killed you. But anyway, he put me on Remeron, and here I am 5 years later. I've been tapering it for the past probably 3 years, little by little by little by little. And it's been pure suffering ever since. And now I'm at 1.1 milligrams of Remeron. And honestly, that 1.1 will probably take me about 2 years, sadly. But some of us, it's like I have to work, and it's like I have to do a job. I mean, I've done a job through this whole damn thing, and it's just been absolute torture. And when people say I couldn't do it, no, you could do it. If you had no choice, you could do it. I understand some can't, and that's obvious, but it's like, it's amazing what the body will just keep forcing, to survive. And I mean, symptom wise, we can get into that in a bit, but.
Well, it's amazing that, it's amazing what you could go through, right? Like, I mean, you and I both know, like, after going through all this shit for 5 years, you're like, how am I still alive?
Right.
And it's insane to me listening to your story how similar it is to mine. I was on benzos for about 3 months. I pretty much cold turkeyed. And then I went to my doctor and she's like, oh, well, the withdrawal shouldn't last very long, but I think you should go on Cymbalta in the meantime. Right? Worst mistake of my life.
It seems like it makes so much sense at the time, though.
It does, because you're just desperate for any relief, and you're just like, and you don't understand how, and I think it's the benzos have completely fucked you up in terms of being able to handle anything else.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what medication you're on in terms of antidepressants, the doctor might say, oh, well, this is like a baby dose, or this is the least harmful antidepressant or something like that. And it's not like we're the only ones. I've talked to so many people in this predicament.
That's why people can't even take vitamin C, for instance. I mean, it's
even supplements like vitamin D supplements and stuff. Like, you can't handle anything. So if the doctor comes to you and says, oh, well, Zoloft is a very easy antidepressant to get off of, don't worry about it. And you're like, oh no, like my thinking process at the time was like, I just need anything to help me get through benzo withdrawal. And then when I get through benzo withdrawal, tapering off Cymbalta shouldn't be that hard.
I said the same thing, 100% to that exact line.
So then I have people on my channel coming to me and asking me, should I go on an antidepressant? I really want to go on one, my doctor. And I say, fuck no. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm just like, I'm not a medical doctor. Okay. Don't sue me. This is not intended as medical advice, but that I have never, ever in my fucking life of hundreds of people I've talked to have ever seen that work for anyone.
No.
Never. It's only made them 100 times worse. And being in the situation that we're in now, 5 years fucking later, when we could have been healed 3 years ago,
Yeah, because it's like it's either, I always say it's nervous system damage, but I mean, it could be anything, gut damage, whatever it is. The antidepressants are constantly itching at it. And until we get off that stuff, it's not, I mean, I can tell I'm healing a little bit as I go, unless I make a mistake, like, like when I tapered a little too much Remeron and threw my nervous system or whatever into complete flux, but in those 5 years, I saw healing happen even while tapering, but I don't think it's possible. And I heard it from the beginning when this all started. I don't remember who said it. They always said, you're not going to start healing until you're off everything. I'm like, fuck. And it's
100%, I 100%
absolutely,
agree.
I mean, it's not
Yeah.
even a question. It's fact.
It is a fact. And you can get better. If
Yeah,
you are on another
you can't.
medication, you can get better. You just won't be like fully better, right?
But
Like you
also,
might be 60% better, 70, you might even be like 80 or 90% better, but you're never going to fully get over it and get back to your life until you're off this crap,
but it was
100%.
it's also we're on medications that we should have never been put on. So like,
Yeah.
that's a huge issue for us. I mean,
Yeah.
so
100%.
definitely we have to be off this medication. So I mean, if it's somebody's on a medication that they should that normally helps them, I don't think it would be such an issue. I don't know. I'm not them, but I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think
I don't.
it's hard
Yeah.
to
No,
heal.
I could agree with that because the thing is that, you know, these medicines shouldn't be used to treat withdrawal. Like it's ridiculous. It's like taking a shovel and just dig your hole deeper, right? Like
Off
that's not what they're
off
meant for.
label.
They're meant for like, depression, but you can't call withdrawal depression. It's not the same thing. Withdrawal is withdrawal. You're having a chemical, circuit, like it's based on withdrawing from a medication. And all the antidepressants in the world is not going to help you with that. You might have some temporary relief, maybe a little bit, but it's not going to stop your withdrawal from happening. Not at
No,
all.
no, Remeron was given to me off label for sleep. And I was told that it was a sleep medication. I didn't know
Right.
anything about medications at that time. I never even thought about it. I just
No.
trusted my doctor like everybody. But a sleep medication that, you can stop taking anytime.
So what symptoms do you, so what symptoms do you have now? Like have the symptoms morphed, or are they kind of the same as they've always been?
They morph constantly. Almost every 3 or 4 days, it turns into something completely different. But they're always somewhat familiar, but they're always scary because they're always slightly different enough to freak you out. I'll never not be scared of what's going on. Hence, my anxiety is always so high. So, I mean, that does not help the situation. But
Yeah.
I'll never be able to explain all my symptoms. I'll never, and that's just number one.
Well,
I'll never.
let's say if you could just pick a handful of your worst ones.
I call it akathisia, but I don't think it is. But I get this snow globe effect in my body when I move. So like right now, it's this buzzing in my, like say my legs or my upper torso. But if I move like this, now everything feels like it's moving inside my legs and arms. So, and it'll like calm down like a snow globe. So I call it that. But I don't hear anybody who really talks about that symptom, but it's one of my worst physical symptoms. It's absolute like kind of torture. So literally I have to, if I stop moving for a good few minutes, it'll calm down. So it's just like, but you have to move, but it's better right now, now that, my cut of my medicine is worn off a little, it feels better, but it's pretty bad. Neuropathy in my feet and hands are always bad, but those aren't my worst symptoms. I don't worry about those too bad, but they're still there. 5 years later, it's like, come on, I feel like I'm shooting energy out everywhere.
Right.
My mental symptoms are always my worst. I always say if I could get rid of the mental symptoms, I'd be a fuck of a lot better. Anxiety is terrible. I get this morphing in my brain feeling, vision wise, everything's just kind of, it's like I've been, drugged with psychological odd effects, and it's, things start going too fast. I start seeing shit, not like full body stuff. I'm not hallucinating like crazy like that, but I see things, corner of my eyes and spots and stuff like that, and just flashing and whatever. Sensory issues are still insane, but it's a lot better now. I mean, it's compared to what I used to go through. I mean, this is nothing, but since we've dealt with this for 5 years, I'm pretty fucking exhausted. Excuse my language over and over again, but I'm exhausted of it. and it still seems so hard. You know, it's like I have the days where I'll close my eyes and everything's just kind of like, you know, and it still does that. And the vibrating, you know, which has calmed down today. So that's good. But like, if I'm really tired, my brain feel like it's vibrating, body feels like it's vibrating on the insides, you know.
Yeah.
Still have bowel issues, but nothing like I used to. For the first like year and a half, it was terrible. And then a year after that was better. And then now it's like pretty normal. So that's good. So those are, I mean, my worst issues. My depression comes on when I cut my meds. The depression's like horrific for like a week, you know, but it's
Same
like,
here.
you have to get through those times, you know. So,
Yeah.
but those are my main things. I mean, if I read you my list, we'd be here for an hour, but you know that
Yeah.
already.
It's funny how, you know, you put it perfectly. You said that, you know, on your good days, it would send the average person to the hospital, you
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah,
And
my good day, my better day today, I could imagine giving it to somebody else and they would be freaking out going, I think I need to go to the ER. Something's wrong. It's like, yeah, no
yeah.
shit, something's wrong. I bet it sucks. Wait till your bad day. You know, I would never do, if I could do it, I would never do it. But man,
Yeah.
sometimes I wish somebody else could just feel what you're feeling so they could just, God, I don't need more sympathy, but damn, just give me a little sympathy.
No, well, that's, you know, that's another thing I could relate to you on, you know, because we both talked about like relationship problems. I think a lot of people in benzo withdrawal go through that, you know. It's people don't get it, you know. I've had my family, like people aren't supporting for the most part, you know. Like I don't want to. It's not like I want to shit on them, but it's just I kind of understand if you've never been through it, you don't have any inkling as to what we're going through. You know, like I'm not saying woe is me, but you know, I've had my family say things like, "Oh, well, you know, I think a lot of it's just because you think about it too much," or you know, it's probably stress. You know, maybe you should rethink about going back on the medicine.
Oh,
You
that's the
know,
worst one. Oh, that hurts.
well,
Just you saying
yeah,
it actually hurts because that one, it's like somebody saying, why don't you just off yourself?
yeah, exactly. And
Sorry,
they
go
think
ahead.
that
Go
you're,
ahead.
yeah, and they think that like you just don't know any better. You don't know what to do for yourself, and you know you should take their advice and listen to your doctor and that kind of thing. I've had that from my family. I've had it from my friends. I've had it from everyone. You know, and that's like one of the shittiest things of having to deal with this. You know, is
Yeah.
having to deal with people who have no idea what you're going through. Sorry if you can hear my daughter crying.
Oh, yeah, we can hear.
This also does not help my symptoms. Well, I thought you were going to fuck with me there and say like, hey, do you hear weird things sometimes, like
Yeah,
babies crying?
I could have missed a good one. And
Anyway,
he's hallucinating right now.
Dan had a talk on his benzo channel the other day, and a siren was going. The siren was going off. And I said, "Hey, Dan, you ever hear like sirens going off? You know,
That
just to
was
fuck with him
great.
a little bit." Anyway,
You literally had to think about that for a second. Fuck, I am crazy. All right.
it's just it's some good old benzo humor for you. It's good that you know you have to be able to laugh at yourself sometimes, right? But like I was just saying, like you know, it's you get a lot of people shitting on you. A lot of people don't understand, you
I mean,
know,
they're all
and
right to a point where, like, sure, you can overthink it. Sure, you know, this and that. And I agree. I overthink everything, you know, and I think about
yeah,
what's going on way too much. They're right. But that does not change what's going on, you know.
well, that's the thing. It's kind of like if somebody has, say if somebody got into a car accident, you know, and they have the worst back injury, back pain possible. It's like telling somebody just not to think about it. Oh, don't think about your back pain; it'll just go away. You know. This is the type of shit where if you're going through it, you know, you can't just not think about it,
Right.
right? When you're in that fucking, when you're living on this different planet and you feel like you're super drunk 24/7, your vision's all messed up. and you got this chemical anxiety, there's no way there's no way you could just talk yourself out of it. You can't just like sit there and meditate and it'll just go away. Like you could, yeah, there are things you could do to maybe help a bit, but I'm sick and tired of people telling me about, oh, why don't you just like de-stress, why don't you like just, meditate more, or, go to your doctor, and, going to like suggesting going to your doctor is pretty much the worst thing anyone
I
can tell me.
still
Like
get that to this
I
day.
go off the handle. Yeah, I get really angry when I hear that.
I mean, I say I don't know what to tell my doctor. And my doctor just thinks, you know what? My doctor doesn't think anything. I don't even know where I was going to go with
It's
that. His
okay.
doctor
You could,
thinks I'm completely insane and says go back to your psychiatrist.
yeah, let's shit on doctors a bit.
Jesus.
Yeah, well, they're fucking useless when it comes to this stuff. In fact, not only are they not only useless, but they make it worse. They make it worse because they want to put you on more shit, or the fact that they just think you're crazy and they don't want to hear what you have to say and show you zero sympathy. I've never come out of the doctor's office discussing this stuff where it didn't put me in a wave because I was so angry after having gone to the doctor's office.
Yeah. I mean, to this day, within the last 5 years, I've seen doctors many times, and it's probably about time I get a checkup anyway, typical blood work crap, just for regular health stuff. But you're right. There's not been one time I've walked out and felt, you know what? It really helped me. I can't just say, it really helped me out. What a great guy or lady, it just never happens. And my frustration, spills out at my home life. And, then I start hearing more things like, well, maybe you should do this and do that. So there's always a list of things that I should be doing to help myself, and those are all things that are not going to help.
Yeah. Well, dude, how do you think I feel? My wife is a doctor, right? So if I come home and if I come home, yeah, if I come home and shit on the doctors, well, then I get shit on.
Yeah. Well,
maybe you should listen to the doctor. Yeah.
Even the doctors should understand that there's a lot of things they don't know, and they should be okay with that. They should say, well, I don't understand what's going on, but obviously it is happening to you. And although I won't be able to get to the bottom of it, I'm here for you. Oh, wow. Simply saying that would have been like, wow, I've got a doctor that actually gives a shit, even though they can't do shit,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So I was actually only about a month into benzo withdrawal. Okay. I saw my family doctor at the time. I since cut her loose because she's an idiot, but she was the one who put me on Cymbalta. And she actually said to me, so I started talking about benzo withdrawal, this and that. I said something is really wrong here. I listed off all these symptoms and all the crazy symptoms that you go through in acute withdrawal. And they've never even heard of akathisia. Like they don't even know what the word is.
Which is bizarre because it's so huge. It's such a big thing now.
Yeah, but you try talking to, I'd say, a huge percent of doctors, and you say akathisia, and they're like, "What's that?" They have no idea what that is. So you start talking about all this stuff that they don't know what the heck you're talking about. And she said to me, she goes, "Well, maybe you're just going crazy."
Dude,
right?
That's messed.
And I'm so right, and then you come out of the doctor's office, and basically, it's come to a point now. I go to get tests done, and everything else I couldn't give a fuck about. I don't care what their opinion is. I would never listen to any medical advice, unless maybe, look, if I had something seriously wrong with me, if I had like a broken bone or something, sure, but if they tell me that, oh, I need to go on this medication, I've had doctors tell me, oh, well, oh, you're only on 20 milligrams of Cymbalta. Oh, well, that should only take like most people could taper that within a month, and they think you're crazy when you tell them that it's going to take 2 or 3 years to taper off of it.
It does sound insane because everybody's completely insane to be tapering that fast. Most people just listen to the doctors and do whatever the hell they say. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And that's part of the reason why I taper. I cold turkey the benzo. So basically what happened with my benzo withdrawal was, I, again, like you, I took it for about 3 months. I didn't even take it every day. I was taking it maybe 4 days a week, maybe 5 days a week at most weeks. So I would skip a day here, skip a day there. I never really saw any harm to it, except for 3 months into it, I started getting like, sort of, I guess, insomnia. I guess reverse insomnia. I don't know what you call it, but I started getting insomnia, and I noticed I started like my pain condition that I was taking it for, my pain condition started creeping up again. I said, well, this really isn't working for me anymore. I went to my doctor and she suggested I up my dose on it. Thank God I fucking didn't.
Right.
Because even at that time, I didn't know anything about these medications, but I knew that if I went down that route, I would just have to keep upping it, and it would just go on and on and on. So at least I knew that much. So thank God I did not up my dose. But I said, I think I'm just going to get off it because I don't think it's helping anymore. So I cold turkeyed it, and I literally ended up in the hospital, shaking, like just it literally like hallucinating, like having like seizure type things happening to me. And I was just like in bed, just withering, and like just I don't know how you describe it. It's different from shaking. I was actually just sort of like, like I can't even describe it. I don't know what the fuck you would call it. But anyway, so I ended up in the hospital, and then I thought to myself, it kind of dawned on me, it really hit me like 3 or 4 days later, I would say. Um, and it kind of dawned on me as like, fuck, could this be the benzos? You know?
Wild.
It took me a while to figure it out because I didn't know that this was possible. I thought that there was something just really wrong with me. I thought I had a brain tumor, or I thought I had something in my brain. So then I made a phone call to my doctor, and I got a prescription for benzos again. And I took a benzo. I shit you not, I went from 0 to 100 within less than an hour. Like I felt almost immediately normal again when I got back on that benzo. So I said, fuck me. So, and then basically what I did was I took a benzo every 5 days for, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how long, but it was a few weeks until I got off it. And I said, you know what? Once I got off it, so about 3 or 4 days later, it hit me again. I don't know why it took so long for it to hit me, but it hit me again. I said, I'm just going to stay off this time, and I'll just go through the 2 weeks or 3 weeks of withdrawal. That's what I thought at the time.
Yeah.
And I'll just fucking deal with it. Right. Lo and behold, little goes to show little what I knew. I thought, oh, withdrawal 2 weeks. This is
Well,
what
that's
you
what
hear
it
about.
shows online. You see that
That's
little,
what it shows online.
there's
Exactly. And
that
that's
little
why I
guide.
thought that. Yeah, well, that's what I doctor Googled it, and they're like, oh, it takes 2 or 3 weeks to withdraw from it. I really think that I would have healed. I think I would have fully healed probably within a year if it hadn't been for all the dumb shit I did in benzo withdrawal in the beginning. So had I not gone on the Cymbalta, had I not had the odd glass of wine or beer, had I not, if I changed my diet around a little bit, because I didn't change my diet at all in the first year. I was still eating sugar and fried foods and shit that would set me off like crazy.
First year, it's so hard to tell because you're so sick anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's hard to tell diet change.
But I really think that had I not done any of that stuff, I probably would have healed within about a year. That's what I think. I think I probably would have fully healed had I not been on Cymbalta, probably within about 18 months. Because I was towards the end of my first year, I was starting to feel a lot better. And then I had a glass of wine, and it sent me into absolute hell for another 6 months after that.
Yeah.
And that's all it took was one glass of wine.
That's always my key phrase to people is number one, stay away from alcohol.
Yeah.
2, diet is really important. I mean, I can always tell when I make the wrong choice. Once in a while I'm starting to feel better. I'll like eat something, and it's not like something bad. It'll be like the last thing, it was like a while back now, like was these wild caught scallops. Now, I don't know why. They messed me up. And I always get the same symptoms. I'll be laying in bed. I'll get that waving feeling throughout my body, and it's just totally nuts in my head. It's always food related, but that's always number two is diet. Diet and not drinking. It's just, oh man, so
Yeah.
important.
And that's the thing, like people might say, like I've heard this a lot. People say like, oh, well, if I eat healthy, but what's healthy in benzo withdrawal might not be healthy,
Yeah.
right? Like, so like people will say, well, I'll eat a diet mostly fruit and vegetables, right? It's like, well, fruit for me would send me into horrific ways. Anything
Yeah.
sugar.
I can't handle the sugar.
Yeah, if you eat sugar and benzo withdrawal, you're fucked. But typically what would be healthy, like people be like, oh, I'll eat apples or blueberries or something like that. And that would send me into like a 2-week wait, So what might be healthy for a regular person might not be healthy in benzo withdrawal, right?
And that's what I had to learn all that. I mean,
yeah,
I can't
it's
eat
a learning process.
strawberries. I mean, I can
Yeah.
probably eat blueberries, but I don't eat a lot. But I mean, they're like the lowest in sugar. But I mean, like strawberries, oh, I love them, but I can't eat them. No way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you eat one, fine, maybe it won't kill you.
Yeah.
But if you eat 10, yeah.
No.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, and your guts are gonna go crazy too.
Yeah. So what's kept you sane, man? Because I know you've had it really rough, especially in the last 6-7 months or whatever, since you did those crazy tapers off of Remeron.
Well,
What has kept you sane, man?
Just keeping me alive is there's a few things. One, I'm a musician, so that keeps me going. Music, writing music, and honestly, it took me a good 2.5 years before I could even do it again. Sensory wise, I couldn't even do it. But the drive.
And you're an awesome musician, by the way. Like, guys, this isn't just like some schmuck off the internet talking about his music. Like this, like Dan actually legit has awesome music.
Thank you. But that's what that having my pets, as much as I find them to be annoying as sin all the time, I couldn't imagine not having them. Keeping me sane is having my YouTube channel, having these kind of conversations, knowing that others are going through it as much as it sucks, because I wish I was alone. I wish I was the only one in the world that had to deal with this, but since I don't, it does make me feel better. Having support from friends and stuff, and not, like you said, not all family and friends get it, and a lot of people won't support it and think I'm just an idiot, or a lot of people just assume I have anxiety and that's it. And I always say, I wish. I actually just repeated that recently. I'm like, if I just had an anxiety issue, I wouldn't be having an issue. But anyway, yeah, those are the main things. Just I've always enjoyed life in general, and I'm my looking forward. And I always said, I don't care if this takes a decade. If I'm 45 years old now, and it started when I was around 40, so I'm like, I just want to be at a decent place when I'm 50 years old, because hell, I might live another 25, 30 years or whatever. I want it to be a reasonable life. And if 10 years out of my life, and I'm going to remind everybody, our stories are rare. A lot of people won't take this long to heal, but we got kind of screwed with the other medications that we should never been on, and whatever. Stress is always a big one when you have to work and do whatever. But I always said, if you live, say you live 80 years, and 5 of those years or 10 of those years you were sick, you still have 70 years to live a good life. So, work hard to get to that point, and I'll continue to do it. And that's it. What about you? What keeps you going?
Well, I mean, again, I don't want to get too cheesy here, but like my kids keep me going, man. My kids, but even if I didn't have kids, I mean, I would still keep going. It's just, let me put it this way, okay? So in 2018, before I started tapering the Cymbalta, okay, I'd gone through a year and a half of horrific withdrawals.
Hmm.
And this was after my big alcohol setback. It was 60 months, and the 18 months I started to really feel pretty good again. Like not 100%, but even at like 80%, it was good enough that my life was so fucking magical that I was feeling good again. Like I appreciated life so much more, you
Yeah.
know? And I was super passionate about everything. I just, it's almost like I was born again as like a teenager who was first kind of experiencing
Yeah, it's like
independence for the
you.
first time,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, you're experiencing the world again for the first time. I know that sounds super cliche and cheesy, but it's true. And when I think back to moments like that, or good, and I still get, I've been getting good windows. Don't get me wrong. When I have my good days, those days feel fucking awesome to me. I'm super happy. I've never had I can't think of a day I've felt 100%. But especially before I had the baby and what we talked about before this, I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
I was having some really good windows again for the first time in a long time. Like I would have like a week where I'd feel like, some days I literally feel like 90%. And when you have those moments like that, you're like, this is so fucking worth it.
Yeah.
And so there's that. And then, when I'm really in the throes of withdrawal and I'm just having one of those really shitty days, just even a couple days ago I had one of those days. I'll just, I'll do what I can, man. I'll just throw on a TV show I've watched a million times before. Um, get into something maybe I'm kind of passionate about. Listen to some music, like maybe a low volume. But I told you, like I was always like I loved reading before all this, but I can't read books going through this, especially with my vision issues and stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, so I started buying graphic novels, you know, and if I could handle it, I'll read a graphic novel, and sometimes they're like graphic novels that are made for like 10-year-olds, but fuck it, like that's just,
Oh
I just
yeah,
do whatever I can, to distract
exactly.
myself.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's
I
great.
know that you and I are fans of some of the same shows. I'm looking forward to Cobra Kai next week,
Yeah.
and
Next week already. Oh my.
I think it's next week. Yeah,
It is. I just forget how quick the holidays were coming up this year.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's that. I mean, I think that if you have something to look forward to in your life, if you don't have anything to look forward to, you got to find something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I
Because
know you're
people,
super passionate about your music.
yeah,
You know,
people tend to forget about the things they were interested in before all this. Because I mean, the depression, I mean, uh, anxiety and depression are such beasts. And when the depression kicks in, it's almost impossible to be interested in and enjoy anything that you used to. But it's more or less just pushing through and kind of doing it anyways, even though it doesn't feel as good as it used to. It's not going to for a while. But if you, like, sometimes I would do things and it felt impossible, like writing music when I first started. I would do it for like 10 minutes and it felt impossible. And it was not even close to what it was like before. And that depressed the shit out of me. I'm like, I'm never going to get it back. But then it slowly in time, started coming back and it'll all come back. And that's the
yeah,
joy of all this. I've been in this situation for 5 years. I've seen hundreds, not maybe thousands of people leave these groups because they've gotten better. I rarely see somebody say, I haven't gotten any better at all. And
Well,
usually,
and that's the thing. Exactly. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people don't share their stories after they've healed. They just want to get
right.
away from it and live their lives, you know? And so people are always like, well, I never hear of any success stories. Trust me, most people, everyone gets better or heals in time, right? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, mostly everyone, unless there's
totally.
something, some other health condition going on or something, you know?
If they're
But
gone, they're getting better, because if they're not going to just be worse and then not want to talk about it anymore, because
yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
you're
But
not.
it's funny, like little things that you're talking about how hard it is. But like, look, when you're in the throes of this and you have the worst symptoms imaginable, you still have to work. You still have to get groceries. You still have to do little things. You're still taking your dogs out for a walk. And even little tiny fucking things like that could seem like the hardest thing imaginable. Like I remember days just picking up groceries where I was like living on a different planet, you know, just completely spaced out.
Yeah.
And my vision was all fucked up and my anxiety, my heart's pounding. You feel like you're going to throw up, you feel like garbage, but you still manage to do it. You know, you can still manage to survive. It like, you know, it's just crazy what you could go through and what you
And
can
what's
handle.
good about that is that it leaves an imprint of a memory. And then when you're feeling better, you look back and you can't really feel what you were feeling when you're in that time. You
Yeah.
knew it was rough, but then you can kind of relive it like, oh, I did do that. That's awesome. And it gives you more
Mhm.
push. It gives you more push to do it again. I literally
Yeah.
did that from the beginning. I never stopped grocery shopping, even in my worst acute. It was absolutely crazy what I was trying to accomplish. I
Yeah.
honestly probably shouldn't have did as much as I did, but I mean, it is possible to do. And I'm kind of glad I did it, because I don't think if I just stayed home all the time, I would probably be severely agoraphobic.
Yeah, that happens to a lot of people. I don't know if I don't think I've, oddly enough, I don't think I've ever had the agoraphobia. It's one of the symptoms I haven't had, maybe the only symptom I haven't had. Because for me, to keep my sanity, I would have to go out. You know, a lot of days I couldn't because I was just so sick, but like even in a lot of my terrible ways, I'd be like, I just need to get outside or do something,
I
you
get
know?
agoraphobia pretty easily if I let it happen. It happened when I first got ripped off of benzos. I mean, that was for me. It was like obviously it was going to happen. If I stay home too much, I start getting freaked out to go out and stuff like that. So I try to make sure no matter how I feel, I got to get out to a point. So
So
yeah.
let's see if we could come to a consensus on the worst symptom in benzo withdrawal. I would say akathisia.
No, I totally knew you were going to say that. But
Yeah,
see, akathisia is so many different types of symptoms that,
yeah.
I mean, it's like, is what's going on in my head a type of akathisia? So, I mean, that's, that constant, how do
Well,
you
I'm talking
explain?
about like the acute. I'm talking about like the acute, like motory. I don't know what the fuck you call it, motor sensor type bullshit. That like to me, the only way I've ever been able to describe it is it always felt like I had worms crawling up my bones.
Okay.
And
I could say that's one of the worst easily.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
That makes
there's
sense.
that. Yeah, there's that. And I'd say in terms of protracted, if like, I mean, I guess you could get akathisia protracted too, but like, I mean, in terms of like that type of akathisia, but I'd say for protracted, to me, the worst is the chemical anxiety paired with the brain fog.
Yeah. I could add on to that. So the chemical anxiety, which of course, brain fog, and the DPDR that just comes with it. That
Yeah,
just
well, I sort of lump that all in the same category.
I know, yeah. But it's
Yeah.
I always had a point, and this is our whole other conversation, because I'm sure it has gut issues. After meeting you and learning a lot about gut issues, even though I didn't fully get it at first, and I still don't fully, but I'm learning. It's
Yeah.
like, and I look back to how many years I've had DPDR to a point, and I've had it for many, many, many years, probably like 20 years. And I sit back and think, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense because that's, I started doing that or whatever. My diet was crap. And then when, at my worst, when I started getting sicker, I started taking Prilosec. My doctor put me on a Prilosec. I don't even want to tell you why it's so stupid, but I'm gonna. I was having pressure in my chest, and they blamed it on something with my esophagus or whatever. Realistically, it was probably just anxiety.
Is that an antacid or what is that?
Antacid.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. And
I'm gonna shit on you for it. You know it.
Well, I mean, it's something I'm gonna have to get off of.
I'm kidding.
I've been on it for easily 10 years. And honestly, he said, stay on it for 3 months. If it doesn't help, just get off of it. Well, you couldn't get off of it after 3 months because when you did, you just spit up. It was horrible. It was absolutely dreadful. I mean, then like I couldn't even fathom coming off this stuff. Just like stop taking it. It would be horrific. So it's something I'm going to have to taper, and I probably will start soon since it doesn't have any like withdrawal effects other than acid, So to go slow enough, I mean, it's not going to really hurt to start, but that's something DPDR I've had for a long, long, long time. But after benzos, it got way worse. Luckily, it's kind of getting back to normal, but I guess I have to cut more. So we'll see how bad it gets.
So it's safe to say, I'm just making an assumption. You're a pretty safe one probably, but
probably.
I'm just going to say that you're done with medication after all this shit.
Yeah.
Like unless you have a life or death something and you need it.
I always say if they, well, see, I wouldn't even want them to give me a benzo for a life or death situation, but I wouldn't see why they'd have to. But the only thing, like I would say, like if it was an antibiotic, I would take it if I had to. I'm not.
If you had like a really bad infection or something.
Yeah, that, and the only thing I would probably do years down the line of being off medication would be like CBD. That'd probably be about it.
So, but if your doctor came to you and said, Dan, I can't even imagine what it could be, but like, here's a potential medication that might help with like, your akathisia and your visual snow. Like, would you consider it, or would you just like automatically just be like, no?
Well, you lumped up too. The visual snow issue is very severe. Luckily, I would never take medication for it because damn well it would just be another antidepressant. No matter what, it's always an SSRI. But if they found a way to like put in some sort of stimuli thing in my brain that's going to help it, which could happen one day. I mean, Elon Musk is a rich guy. But anyway, that's a whole different story. If they did, I would probably try it. But medication wise, because this is a pretty bad situation for me, so I'd have to do something. But I can't imagine any medication actually making me better. So I'd really have to weigh it. But I mean,
literally my fucking eyeball would have to be like coming out of my socket, or maybe my arm hanging off my
it's just me being paranoid about things progressing worse. So I always think like, because going through this, it obviously makes us like, I'm like, this whole situation makes me overthink everything. And that's what I try not to do. That's the one thing other people tell me that I try to stick with and, not overthink, So like I said, with my visual issues, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. What should I do? If they come out with a pill, would I take it? Fuck, I don't know, but odds are probably not. I mean, I know what the medication does to me. So I just don't want to be in that situation where I'm feeling so good one day, go, well, I'll try it. Because I've been there. I was feeling fine, even though I thought I wasn't, but I had some anxiety, big fucking deal, And look what happened.
Exactly. I could tell you this. I know people in withdrawal. I mean, we've both been at this a long time, so we've heard every story you can imagine in the book. But I've heard people in withdrawal who, they've been feeling better for 6 months, right? They're back to normal. They're living their life again. Everything's good. Everything's good. They go out drinking with their friends. Bam, sent back into a year-long wait.
Yeah. And they don't,
So,
at first they have no idea why.
yeah. Yeah.
I was drinking, but that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. And literally, like, even something like that, like, I went out drinking with friends one night, year-long wave after that. Like, I've heard crazy shit like that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, if you ever feel like you are fully healed again, just thank your lucky stars and don't fuck it up by doing something stupid like that.
I really wish the Ashton manual would get a nice update by somebody, because it does like say that an occasional glass of wine is okay, and people kind of live by that rule.
Yeah.
And it's just old information, and it's just not true. And I mean, I wish it was for everybody, because geez, I would love to have a nice glass of wine and kick back, but that will never happen again. I mean, I will never drink again. Not that I even cared to drink before.
Never.
But I'll tell you, like, I think it was like 2 months ago, I literally thought for the first time in years, I'm like, I could really use a freaking drink right now. And it was a weird feeling, because it's like, it was just basically saying, I wish I was like I was before. But I mean, think about it. As much as we've learned now, once we heal, we're going to be way better. I mean, it's just, we're going to be way better than we were in the past. As long as
I agree, because
as long as we keep the path, you know.
Yeah, well, not only that, I think it's because we'll have a better mindset. Because if we're feeling better, we'll appreciate feeling better so much more than just, we didn't know what it was like to be sick, really sick before, right? So we didn't know how bad it could get. So when you feel, even if we're not fully healed, if I was like 80% or 90% healed, you know, and I felt like that on a regular basis, I'd be like, fuck, life is great. This is amazing. You know?
Yeah. It wouldn't be a huge issue. No.
Yeah. And then we also have like, we have ways, so we have these better coping mechanisms now, even if we do have bad days. Like if we're stressed out about something, we could cope with it better. We have our diet is better. Like a lot of things are better, you know? So I think that when we get over that and we're off these medications, and yeah, like you said before, it is still maybe a couple years away, but we're both going to be in our 40s.
And it's the grand scheme of life. It's only a couple years. We'll get it.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, exactly. So, but look, it's like you said, we might have, you know, who knows? Look, maybe if we're lucky, we'll have another 30 something years after this, right? After we get off this medication. So that's a lot of living to do.
Yep.
And if you've gone through an experience like this and you're on the other side and you're feeling better, that's a lot of really good living you'll do. And not only that, but I can't imagine when I'm fully healed and better that I'm going to be wasting as much time as I did before I got sick.
Agreed.
You know, right? So I don't think I'll be sitting on the couch as much. I don't think I'll be as lazy as I was, right? I don't, because I was a lazy fucker, I'll say that. But I think that when I'm on the other side, I can't just imagine sitting around. I'm going to be working on projects. I'm going to be doing shit I'm passionate about. You know, even if it's not like, if it's benzo related or not, like it could be anything, right? Like it could be painting, or I don't know.
Whatever.
I'll be doing whatever I'm passionate about, you know, and I'm sure you'll be kicking ass with your music, you know. And
I want to be doing something that I'm happy with and actually be able to fully enjoy it, you know, instead of, you know, being sick and enjoying it. You know, it's not as hard now, but it's still not as easy, because I still have to limit, you know, and sensory, you know, although it's not every single day the sensory is intense, but you know, it still has those days, and we're still tapering. So, you know, it's coming every time you taper. It's like, well, I'm going to be on the couch for a few weeks at least. And
well, you know,
sorry, man. No, it's all right. Go
Well,
ahead.
one thing I was just going to say is, I think of where a lot of people get it wrong, and here's something that kind of bothers me, and I kind of get it in a way, but like, to me, when you talk, you seem like a very high functioning person, right? And I think that like we're pretty high functioning in a way, in that we could sort of like almost like fake it in a way, like we could speak somewhat like a normal person would, right? But
That
on the inside,
that's the part that people find really. That's why I don't think a lot of people believe us. I mean,
well, yeah. And since having this channel, since I've been doing my podcast, you take a lot of shit sometimes. I'm not saying like you overwhelmingly it's positive. Most people are supportive, most people are on your side, but every once in a while you get that asshole who will be like, "Oh, you seem completely normal. You're not sick like I am," or something like that, or they'll just make some asshole comment like that. Like, "Oh, you're a total faker." I'm like, "Why the fuck would I fake this?" Like, come on.
I mean, considering I've been doing about the same thing since day one, and I know what I was going through to do the things that, like I was saying earlier, to do the thing that I was doing was completely insane. But I walked around like I was completely normal. One thing in my head, I'm like, if I look normal, maybe it'll help. And I'd walk into, oh my god, I'd walk into Walmart, for fuck's sakes. It was like obviously like the worst place you could possibly ever go in Benzo, and and I would go in there. I would walk across the street because I have one across the street. I won't even do that now. But like
Yeah.
then I thought like it was exercise and it would help me. Stupid, but so I'd walk over there and I'd walk and get a couple things, and the whole time inside, I was completely out of my mind and physically just completely floating around. Like it was just so stupid. But I know nobody would notice. They
Yeah.
might be like, well, he's walking a little fast or something. But if people were in my head, they'd probably, I don't know what they do. Like now they would just go to the ER. Before, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just think they would probably get in their car and run off of a cliff, man. It was just totally insane. Because I thought walking there would help, get some exercise. And then my heart rate started going so insane. I could keep
Yeah.
the topic, to now heart problems. But yeah,
I just it's funny that I think it's great that we could sort of laugh about it in a way, but like
it's like
because
the
it's
worst possible thing you can go through, and it's like we're laughing about it. It's just nuts. I mean, nobody in the
I
right
know.
mind would laugh about this. It's crazy.
I think it's just because it's so fucking crazy that it's
Yeah,
almost comical in a way, right? It's so fucking off the charts nuts that it's like it's comical. I don't even know I don't even know why I'm laughing, but there's something comical about it to some weird degree.
it's
And
comical
like,
because it's so intense. And when you hear
yeah,
other people talk about their issues, and you want to be supportive to people no matter what, but you hear
yeah.
about like regular issues, like, oh, you have a headache? That fucking sucks for you. And you can't help
It's
but laugh because it's like, and it's funny because like you have no idea. It's
well,
funny.
I'll tell you this with I won't say the word, but with the good old
Yeah.
SHOT, that everyone's getting, and I'm not I don't have an opinion on this either way, guys. So don't shit on me for it. But people would get sick from it, and people be like, I have my business, I have my clients or whatever. I probably should say this, but like someone would complain to me, oh, I felt, I had like a stomach ache, or it was terrible for 24 hours. I felt sick or something like that. And I'd be like, and I can't help. And again, people might shit on us after and be like, oh, you guys are mean, or you guys are terrible people, whatever. I'd be like, play a fucking violin for me, guys. Come on. Come on. Once you've been through this shit for 5 years and people have their regular, and it sounds like we're looking down on them. Maybe we are, but when people have
Well,
their regular problems, right? They seem so trivial. And that's why I'm saying that once you're over this, those trivial little problems of having a little headache for a couple days, or I don't know, like someone cut you off in line at the grocery store or something like that, right? Like that shit is so fucking trivial and not even worth
Right.
thinking when you're going through this kind of shit, you know?
That's
So
that's it. It's just little things are so much easier. I've always been a severely cynical and negative person in my life. You know, I
yeah,
had like as a teen, I was like pretty hateful to like everything. I
yeah,
mean, going through this in general, I mean, not like I was a total dick before this, but I mean, it's like, I don't know, little things, you know, are just so much easier. You know, if I get a little
yeah,
headache, I don't even, you know, like we don't mention these things. Like if I'm not going to go around and be like, oh, I have a headache or I feel a little fluish today or something, where a lot of people will stay home from work is like, you
yeah.
know, our okay days, you know, and it's like, it'll just be nicer in the future to know that I can actually just shrug this stuff off and just keep moving on. And it's not because the coping techniques from my therapist. It's just because we've gone through hell, and
Yeah,
that memory alone will drive me to the day I
exactly.
die.
Well, Dan, I hate to cut you off here, man, but
No, great.
I have to get going. I hear my daughter calling for me, but look, man, I think that we should do like a regular thing like this sometimes, you know.
We can have a series because we
We
have a
could have a,
lot. We have a lot to say. Yeah.
yeah, just shoot the shit or whatever. And, you know, I don't know. People, maybe no one will watch this, but look, I know that like if I saw videos like this, especially when I was like going through acute and really, really bad withdrawals, it always helped me to hear people just talk about this stuff. So I think it's
Yeah.
really cool, like having a conversation about it, you know?
Yeah. I know I talk a little much as somebody who is protracted, but I always like, and I always say it, and I've said it a couple times already, but no matter how bad things are, you might be better in 3 months. I mean, I've seen it happen thousands of times where
Yeah,
people are as sick as I was, and they're like, "Oh, after 3 weeks, I feel so much better." I'm like, "Well, shit, that's awesome." I'm a little upset because I didn't get that lucky, but you know,
yeah,
just know everyone that it gets better no matter what situation you're in. So just hold tight.
100%. Exactly. All right, Dan.
All right.
Well, cool. Thanks. It was good talking to you, man. And
Yeah, you
thanks for
too.
sharing your story. And let's do this again soon, okay?
We will. We'll chat.
All right, man. Okay. Have a good night.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Later.